Do you want the most infuriating experience in your life and have a semi decent ending to that horrible experience? Well, I have a story for you. It's Strange Pictures by Uketsu. It's that. Hi guys, it's me, Serial Eater. Hooray! Um, I almost I almost lost my mind reading this book, and I don't know if it's going to be the same reason everyone else was losing their mind. Did I like this book? In retrospect, yes. I mean, I liked it enough to read it, to review it. I liked it enough to review it. I think that that's saying something. I have complicated feelings about this book, and I'm going to be talking about them with you guys because I feel like this is better than the book that I had planned this week. I read a whole book this week. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm going to start doing a quarterly wrap up, so I'll talk about it in my quarterly wrap up. Strange Pictures by Uketsu is more of a mystery book than a horror book. I'll put that out there first, which might make me want to start looking into mystery books because I have a couple mystery books on the wings that I want to read that have been suggested to me. And regardless, it's a mystery book with horrifying elements sprinkled in. On the surface level, it's about two college students who are looking into a mysterious blog on the internet. They find strange pictures like the ones shown on the cover of this book, and they're trying to connect the dots between that and an overarching story. And that's really what you get from the cover and the back of the book. It's hard to quantify how much this actually gives you in terms of what the book is about, because it is just that. It is a cryptic description that you're going to have to walk through yourself. And you will, to an extent, because it's mysterious type of narrative. You'd think you'd have to sit there and play these escape room type mystery puzzles, because in the beginning, that's kind of how it's presented. You're given pictures that make no sense, but it feels like the narrative is driving you to figure out the story alongside the narrator. Until it's not. After a few pages of tedious back and forth, because the conversation sections of this book are just tedious and bland, you'll get a full explanation of the mystery. It will sit and kind of spoon feed you information, including pulling these pictures together for you and arranging them to exactly what the mystery is. And for me, who likes a good puzzle, I don't think it works for me. This book will often bring back words people have said, or words and sentences that people have said, or pictures that had been in a previous page, and kind of like show you the way that you should have been thinking about it, I guess. You know how like in algebra class, your teacher's always like, you have to show your work. That's exactly how this feels. Like, this book will show you what you need to get from point A to point B step by step, and it makes me feel like it was hand holding me in a very trudging way that made me not really want to read further, but I wanted to keep pressing on, if not only for not to have another DNF on my reading list, because I have a couple of those, and I'll talk about those in the quarterly wrap up whenever I do that. I want to have more books on that list before I actually do it. I'm not sure if this is a translation error or just a weird way that this book was written, but between chapters, the tone shifts quite often. The first part can feel tedious because it's written without fluff and almost robotically, which made it really unenjoyable for me. The middle chapter is more character driven, then it goes back to being robotic because you're dealing with facts from a reporter, and then it goes back to being character driven, which is a bit jarring and whiplashy if you're used to having one tone of narrative in your books. It feels like it was written for TV. Like, half of the book was written for TV and the other half was written for a novel, because the TV show sections were so good, but they were not descriptive at all. It just felt like characters having a back and forth. The novel sections were great because they were descriptive. They had, foreshadowing and subtext, and it was great. I thought those sections were great. For this book, the spoiler section is going to be quite bigger than the usual kinds of spoiler sections that I have in my videos, because this book is just kind of riddled with spoilers. It's one of those things that you have to read yourself. So I am going to put a spoiler section here. I'm going to leave my little banner up and everything, but I do feel like I have to say I almost didn't review this book in its own video because of how large the spoiler section's about to be. But hopefully it's not as big as I think it is, and I'm pre-recording this, so We're gonna find out if it's big or not. Here's your timestamp for when the spoiler section is done. And I'm going to be talking about something that happens 3/4 of the way into this book that I didn't really want to spoil at this point because I really haven't talked about the book itself. I haven't talked about it at all. But because I can't talk about it without completely spoiling it, I didn't want to put it in the non-spoiler section of this review. This book touched on something that I can't stand about older psychology theory, which is give the woman a baby. That'll fix her. That drove me absolutely crazy in this book. This book begins with a lecture about developmental psychology, which basically had a picture of one of the characters that Naomi, one of the characters, drew, trying to analyze her mental state. So I'm going to read you the beginning of the book right now and just to show you guys what it sounded like. And it goes like this. Deep inside, little A's thorny, aggressive exterior beat a kind heart. If we could give her a chance to interact with animals or small children, we can foster that kindness and possibly overcome her aggressive spirit. That is what I surmised then, and to this day, I remain confident in that diagnosis and recommended course of treatment. I understand that little A is now living happily as a mother. What you're not getting from this sentence is that little A, or Naomi, is currently living in a juvenile reformatory for killing her mother. And that's why there's the picture and the psychoanalysis here, and you don't get that till the end of the book. Naomi was deeply abused by her mother, and after her father died and her mother almost killed the last present that her father had gifted her, which was a small bird named Cheepy, to defend this bird, Naomi killed her mother extremely brutally. Like it's laid out in the book. So there's there's a lot of beating of another person in this book. And the reason why this bothered me so much was that the psychologist that was overseeing her said, yeah, it's fine. She should be okay to have children and be around small animals. As someone who's not in control of their emotions at all times, this was difficult for me to agree with. I never wanted kids because of the abuse I sustained as a child. I never wanted to have what I learned as a child to come out towards a child in my care. That's my experience. That's my choice. But maybe it's different with other people. But I'm going to be super for real with you guys. She already murdered somebody. She very violently beat the shit out of them. So hearing anything say, yep, this girl is okay to be around kids, was flooring. And I was just stunned by that. I almost DNF'd it at that point, but like I had gone through so much of the book that I was like, I gotta see what the heck they were thinking at the end of this book. And luckily, the whole thing is rectified at the end. The psychologist says she was in the wrong for saying that. She was not potentially softened around children. She was softened around the child, sure, yes. She did have a child. She was softened around the child, but that also made her obsessive of this child. She wanted to be a mother so badly, so when her own son had a wife and that wife had a baby, well, Naomi killed her son's wife. Somehow, some way, she was able to convince her son and her grandchild to start calling her mother. And I like now Naomi is being called mother by her grandchild because she wants to be a mother so badly. And the way she did this was crazy. I do suggest you read the book to see how Naomi pulled this off, because it's absolutely the most scummy thing in the world, but it's very interesting. Man, I don't know how Uketsu figured that out, like how they set that up. It was crazy. Naomi is the person people are trying to catch in this whole book for a good reason. The pure emotions I was feeling during the middle of the book was what propelled me to finish it. I don't think that if the narrative was, I think that if the narrative was less gripping, I wouldn't have finished it. I just was so annoyed by the psychology bit that I was like, what are they gonna say? And they took it back, which is nice. At the end of the book, it did have a good ending for me because it didn't justify any of Naomi's actions. There's such a deep and rich CSI, like the TV show kind of feel to the book, which makes it more interesting. Welcome back from the spoilers. This is the end of the spoiler section. Do I think the slog of the narrative was worth the outcome? Looking back on it, because I read this 2 weeks ago, yes, because if it was less interesting, I wouldn't have finished it. I tend not to finish books that I do not like unless there is a good reason for it. And I'm thinking about it now. I have ended up suggesting it to a friend of mine, so it must be good enough to at least hold my interest, which is good. For this novel, there is a couple of triggers that I would try to keep aware of, which is abuse, child abuse, murder, pregnancy, birth stuff, animal torture. There's those kinds of things. So if that's still interesting to you, I would say I would give this book a 3. The narrative's okay. It's not great, but it's not bad. Like I said, I don't know if it was a translation error or something like that half of it was dry and half of it wasn't. I'm not sure. But if you're interested in buying this book, I have an online bookshop that supports local independent bookstores, and if you purchase Strange Pictures through my affiliate link, you can support my channel. If you want to see more of me, I stream most weeknights on twitch.tv/serialeatervt. If you want a more in-depth schedule, that'll be on my card. All of this is linked in the description below. And yeah, usually my end thingies I write beforehand, but I also usually write the script the day of me reading this. But I went and read a whole nother book, and I said, no, I'm not writing a review on that. So I came back to this one, and I realized that I like this book a lot more than I thought, which is good. Hooray. Have a good day. Bye-bye.